I'm here today to talk about my favorite reads from 2022. The first book is The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness, which is the first book in the Chaos Walking trilogy, and there's a movie based on it. Just on the first book, it's a standalone movie. And I actually wasn't planning on reading this book. I was gonna watch the movie so that I could just go into it without having to compare it to anything and just enjoy it for what it was. But I was at a used bookstore and saw this before I saw the movie and thought, you know what, I might as well. So I read this before watching the movie, and I'm so glad that I did, obviously, because it's on my favorites list of 2022. This takes place on a planet that humans have colonized many years ago. And on this planet, you can hear the thoughts of animals, men and boys. Also, many, many years ago, shortly after arriving on the planet, all of the girls and women died. So this follows a boy named Todd who's about to turn 13, although they calculate their years differently, so he's closer to about 15, I think, 15 or 16. And there's something that all of the boys do when they turn 13 that officially makes them a man, but nobody ever talks about it. Nobody knows what it is until you've actually done it. And Todd is really excited for this thing that he has to do, even though he doesn't know what it is. But suddenly, the two guys who raised him tell him that he needs to run away. He can't do what they want him to do. He can't know what it is. He has to get out of there because he's in danger. And so it's about him on the run and also meeting a girl, which is like, where did you come from? Because I thought all of the girls were dead. And it's very exciting. And it's super interesting because of being able to hear everybody's thoughts. And also the animals talking is fantastic. So when you can hear their thoughts, which is called noise, it's written in a different font, and it's like very invasive looking, which is the point. So here's an example right here. Here's another one. I loved the concept of this book. I loved the style. I loved the way everything was put together. I loved the characters. I thought it was so exciting. And I love just like the talk about the noise and how it feels so different for both Todd and Viola, who's the girl that he comes across, about how she can hear everything that he thinks, and also what it feels like for him to grow up being able to hear everybody's thoughts and suddenly not being able to hear hers. Super interesting, super exciting, super well done. I absolutely loved this book. Also, just a warning, there is animal death in this book, and I'm pretty sure in all of the books in the trilogy. Just as a warning. I don't know why I laughed when I said that. It's not funny. The next book I have on the list is XOXO by XOXO. This book is just so cute, adorable, feel good. It just gives you the warm and fuzzies. It just like warms your heart. It's so cozy. This is about a Korean girl who lives in the States. I can't remember if it's in California or New York. It's one of them. And she meets this other Korean boy, and they have this fun, random, adventurous night together. They do karaoke, they go to a festival and eat a bunch of food, and then he ends up having to leave very abruptly. He has to go back to South Korea, but they exchange numbers and they text a little bit until all of a sudden he just stops answering her. And then the main character, Jenny, ends up getting the opportunity to go to South Korea. Sadly, it's because her grandmother is sick and her mom wants to go and help take care of her, and so Jenny goes along with her and enrolls at an art school in South Korea because she plays the cello. And when she gets there, she finds out that the boy she had this fun adventure with not only goes to her school, but is a member of the up-and-coming K-pop band XOXO. So it is about them kind of figuring out, what happened, why he stopped texting her, and if they want to be together, and navigating his fame, and her just being in school in South Korea and making new friends and dealing with her grandmother, and even her relationship with her mother. It's so cute with just enough serious stuff in it to make it have depth and to make the characters feel more real, but not enough to bring the story down and make it sad or depressing or anything. I adored this book. It was so cute, so sweet. If you just want a quick read that warms your heart, pick this one up. The next book is A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab, which is the third and final book in the Shades of Magic series. Shades of Magic. I always get Shades of Magic and Shades of London mixed up. Shades of London is by Maureen Johnson. Shades of Magic is this one. I can't tell you what this one is about because it's the last book in a trilogy, But the series basically revolves around alternate universes that all have a London, and people who can travel between universes and visit all of these Londons, about the problems that they get into and the people that they meet, and about the different Londons specifically, because they all have a different relationship with magic. And it is so good. This is such a good series. I love the writing style. I feel like the characters are so strong, and a lot of the times the writing style is like calm and slow, so it kind of like pulls you in slowly, and like you don't realize what's happening until you're kidnapped. I don't know. It's so good. It's so good. I love V.E. Schwab, and I love this trilogy so much. The next book that I have here is Scythe by Neil Shusterman, and this is an interesting one because I almost put this down and stopped reading it a couple times. And look, it's on my favorites of 2022 list. So Scythe is about a future world where death is no longer an issue in the world. You can still die, but if you do, you can be brought back. You can explode into little tiny pieces and they will still be able to bring you back. There's also a way for you to de-age after you become a certain age. So you like rewind back to like being 24 years old or something, and then you can live a whole life again. Now, because nobody dies anymore, there's an issue with overpopulation in the world. So there are these people called Scythes, and it is their job to kill people to keep the population from overgrowing. And it is about two apprentices who are apprenticing to be Scythes, obviously. Now, I was really surprised about how brutal this book is. And the reason I was surprised by that is because by other people's reviews that I had seen and read, and by the back of the book, I thought that for a Scythe to kill someone, all they had to do was touch them. I thought that they would touch them and they would just slump over dead just like that. Nice and painless and not traumatic at all. But that's not the case. They can actually kill people however they want, and they can kill whoever they want. They can give them a slow, painful, agonizing death. They can give them a quick but messy and disgusting death. Like, they can do whatever they want. And you read about a lot of it. Not only can they kill them however they want, there's a group of Scythes who do mass killing. Well, it's called gleaning when you're killed by a Scythe. So they do mass gleanings. So they just decide to go to, I don't know, wherever they want, a workplace or a movie theater or whatever, and just like kill as many people as they can, just the way it would happen in real life with like a shooter. So these scenes of people either being killed in gruesome ways or very upsetting ways, or people running and panicking and trying to hide from people who were killing as many people as they can in terrifying ways. I forget how I started the sentence, so I don't know how to end it with it making sense. Anyway, it's very heavy. It's very, very heavy, and I was not expecting it to be as heavy as it was, which is silly because it's about people apprenticing to be a thing that kills you, but I didn't realize that that's what it was, and I thought that like the story would unfold in a different way and other things would come of the story, but the big aspect of the story is how and why people are being killed, and if that's moral, and if they should be allowed to keep doing it the way they do it, and the people who enjoy it, should they be enjoying it? If they enjoy it, should this be their job? There's like a huge narrative around the morality of killing people and how to do it, and why you should do it, and why you should do it in certain ways, or why you shouldn't do it in certain ways. And I thought that was so interesting and so good, and also the writing was so good. It was calm, so even during parts that were very upsetting, it still had this like calm atmosphere to it. And the characters, I loved the characters, and the person who's apprenticing the two main characters was this like very like calm and gentle mannered person, and I really liked the way that he spoke to them and the way that he taught them, and just like the way that he went about life. He just seemed like this like distant but kind person, and I adored everything about this book besides the disturbing murders. Although they were important to the story and created a really interesting and important narrative. So this stuck with me. It was difficult for me to get through. I think if I knew what it was about, like how dark it was, I probably just would have read it at a different time. I just feel like it was not the best time in my life to be reading such a heavy and upsetting book, but I did, and I powered through when I thought I couldn't, and I'm really glad that I did. Then we've got Where the Drowned Girls Go by Sean McGuire, which is the 7th book in the Wayward Children series. I love this series. I adore it so much. It's so good, you guys. It is about children and teenagers who have been to magical worlds, like they've walked through doors that bring them to a magical land, and they've now come back to the real world, and they're having trouble dealing with being back in non-magical lands. So they go to this boarding school that helps them deal with it. And every other book is a standalone, and then so all the odd numbered books are like, you need to read the one previous in order to understand what's going on in the next one. So they're a continuous story. And all the even numbered books are standalones. And they're about like one specific person and their experience going through their magical door. It's so good. Like, I love it so much. So this one is about a character who went to a water world and some things that happened in the 5th book that I can't talk about because of spoilers, but she ends up going to a different school, and it's about her dealing with being at a different school for people who have been to magical worlds and all the things that happen there, and I adored it so much. I mean, like the rest of the series. And the last book that I have here might possibly be my favorite book of the year. That's why I saved it for last. And that's Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. You guys, I loved this book so much. I adored it so much. I can't believe it took me this long to pick it up. And I can't believe I haven't picked up the sequel yet. I have it, but I haven't picked it up to read it. Oh my goodness, what is wrong with me? I know I will love it. So, Strange the Dreamer is my kind of fantasy book. Like, this is my favorite style of book. I love it so much. It's calm, and it's got like a little bit of a cozy factor to it just because of the writing and because it's kind of slow moving. And just because of how it talks about magical things. Anyway, lovely. I'm going to tell you what it's about. So, Strange the Dreamer is about this guy named Laszlo Strange who is obsessed with this world, country, place that may or may not have ever existed. And if it did exist in the past, it probably doesn't exist now. But he's obsessed with it, and he wishes that he could live there. And he knows so much about it, he even knows how to speak their language. But then someone comes to where Laszlo lives, saying that he's from this land, and he wants to hire people to come to his land to help him with a problem. Now, the only thing that's upsetting about this is that the types of people that he's looking for are not the kinds of people that Laszlo is. He doesn't qualify for any of these positions. But because he tells this guy how much he loves their world and how much he even knows their language and he studies it and he wishes that he could live there, he hires him as an assistant so he gets to go to this land that he's always dreamed of going to, which is just amazing. And just the talk of all of this and the talk of like when he finds out that he has a possibility to go and then his dreams are shattered because he doesn't qualify for any of these positions is just, I felt it in my soul. Like, I feel like that would be like me being told that I can go to Hyrule, and then all of a sudden, no, you can't, these people are going to go instead, and they don't even care about it as much as you do. Like, it was so well done. So it's about that, and it also follows these other characters who have basically been exiled, and they're in this strange place, and you find out slowly, like, how they got to where they are and why they're exiled. And then when Laszlo gets there, he ends up having these amazing dreams that are very magical, and there's more to it than just that, but that's all I can say. So it's delightful. It's wonderful. Now, the only thing that I do want to warn people about is there is some talk of, like, rape and sexual assault. There isn't a lot of it, because I'm not a fan of reading about that kind of stuff. It makes me really uncomfortable and really upset. But I thought that it was talked about in enough ways that, like, you understood what happened, which is sucks that these things happen to these people, and it sucks that it's terrible. But it's not talked about in great detail. It's not, like, really described. It's talked about, like, oh, this is a thing that happened before, but some people talk about remembering it. So you don't actually have to read about it happening, but you do have to read about people talking about it having happened to them or to people they know, and, like, the result of it and stuff like that. It's not a huge part of the story, but it is in there, so I thought I'd let people know. I do have an honorable mention that I want to talk about briefly, which I don't have with me because my friend is borrowing it, but that is The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary. I thought this book was really fun and really cute, but there was one thing that really kind of took me out of the story multiple times that kind of made it, not a favorite because of that, but I still want to mention it for a couple of reasons. The Flat Share is about a guy and a girl who end up sharing a 1-bedroom apartment who work opposite shifts. So they never see each other. So they sleep in the same bed and everything like that because they're never there at the same time. And they communicate with Post-it notes. Super adorable, super cute. There's more to the story than just that. There's something going on with the girl's life and something with the guy's life that's interesting, but not so dramatic that, again, it brings the story down to a depressing level or anything. Just makes it super interesting and gives the characters depth. I thought it was really funny, really cute. I read it really quickly. The only thing that like really took me out of the story was the way the guy narrated and the way he spoke. He did not use proper grammar at all. He took a lot of words out of sentences that are important for the sentences to make sense. And sometimes I had to read sentences multiple times in order to know what he was saying. Or sometimes he would say something cute and romantic, but in a stupid way. And it would just be really upsetting because I'm like, that's not romantic anymore because you're not talking properly. And there's no explanation as to why he speaks like that. But he doesn't speak like that in dialogue. It's only in his narration. So... Or did he speak like that in dialogue? Now I can't remember. I feel like he talked normally when he was actually speaking. But it took me out of the story a lot, and I almost didn't want to keep reading it at the beginning because it's like alternating chapters, so every other chapter was written like that. But I ended up, moving past it, and I'm really glad that I did. It was a really cute book. And the other reason I wanted to talk about it is because there's a TV show based on it on Paramount Plus, and I didn't even know this was coming out. My mom got Paramount Plus, and we were just looking through what they had, and I was like, The Flat Share? What? Is this based on the book I read last year? Yes, it was, and it's amazing. We've watched the first 3 episodes so far. It's pretty different from the book, which it needs to be in order to make it a TV show, but it's also the same, if that makes sense. I think it's super well done. And the way they edit them communicating with the Post-it notes is super well done. Anyway, I super recommend now that you read The Flat Share and then watch the TV show, or just watch the TV show, or just read the book, but super cute. I had to mention it because of those things. So anyway, those are my favorite reads of 2022, and have a good day. Bye.